this is a graph I got through the web site of Jim Willie. It's the foreign purchases and sales of long-term domestic and foreign securities by type. It is a graph that shows you, let's say, the trade balance for different types of paper, US Treasury bonds, US corporate bonds, and all kinds of other stuff, foreign bonds. And it shows you clearly that there's been a line. Let's see if I can do it. There's this line here. It was hovering around zero until 1993, and then it began a steep rise up to, well, I'm not sure what the heights are, but they're pretty serious, until September 2008, and now they have fallen off a cliff, going down. The red line is the total of all the combined trades, and it shows you that the foreign countries are really not buying, have steeply reduced their buying habit in terms of dollar denominated assets. And you can see the yellow line is the yellow line are US corporate bonds, and then blue line is US Treasury bonds. That's going up and down. Is this one? But it's all going down, and instead the US is starting to sell these brown lines, the foreign papers, foreign bonds. Some lines have already gone through zero, so the corporate bonds have gone through zero. So US is a net buyer of its own corporate bonds. Treasury is still up there, but people say that it's a lie. I cannot be sure. But the complete image that this gives is basically that the US, that this red line is on the way to zero, and on its way to go below zero, right around 2010 or something like that. At that point, the US cannot get foreign currency anymore with these papers. That's not a good sign. I guess that's a very bad sign, because of course it needs it. Now the interesting thing I also think here is that it started all at this point in 93, when Larry Summers became part of the Clinton administration. You were below the line, and the upwards trend, that is very straight line, began. He worked under Mr. Rubin, and well, up and up and up and up and up and up. And of course these guys are the guys that say, well, we don't care about deficits. I guess they say it's a problem for people in the future, but of course it's a problem for people in the future, you know. And it's not very nice to govern in a way that you create problems for people in the future, because, and that's something I don't really know, but if it's around zero here, that really means that the US doesn't get that extreme amount of foreign currency to buy whatever they want. So they have to make stuff themselves and sell it. If this line goes up, and we all know what that meant, it meant that we started consuming foreign stuff and not making it ourselves. We started to outsource everything we had in terms of productive capacity. And now, you see, and we were consuming and consuming, and everybody knew that was like the American was the fat guy on the beach, and all the other people were running around cooking for him and waving him cool air. That story. But now it's going to crater like a McCain airplane, and who's going to make stuff? Who's going to make anything? I don't think anybody can in the way that they could in 1993. And I don't assume that that's the case. Of course there's lots of efficiency, and I don't know, I might be talking out of my ass, but that's a huge problem. And of course also, if you have a military that you have to sustain around the world, and it takes trillions to do that, or billions, then if you don't get any foreign currency, how are they going to eat? How are they going to move around and buy the supplies they need where they are? They're not going to do that. So they have to kind of run home, because they don't have any money anymore. So I thought it was an interesting image, and whatever Bernanke says, well, should be turned into cow dung and fed to him, because he's lying to everybody, including the American people, because if we wouldn't be lying, you could do something about the problems, the productive capacity. But because he's always talking about recovery, people are sleeping, or I guess the people that have the money and the comfort to do that. The other people are scourging and I don't know, in panic, because they see the red line happening very clearly.